that's 2. Now number 3 here is Cush and Put. So we want to take the 2 together. Cush will pick up all of if we can call this area up here northern Africa, where we've had the so-called misnamed African Spring. Cush will pick up everything to the south. The two together will pick up the entire continent of Africa. And that will, based on other prophecies in Daniel and so forth, that will be the kingdom of the south, of the Southern Confederation. There will be a king of the south, and I think the basic quote theological geopolitical position of it will be Islamic. Okay, now that's an important concept to get in mind. Islam's headquarters and base of operation, its greatest concentration, where it can where we could actually say draw boundaries around its kingdom, would be Africa. We don't have to extend it across the 30-degree, 40-degree parallels all the way over into China and so on. All right, now 3, 4, then 5 is we put here Gomer in Germany. Gomer, by Jewish historians and experts, and the lexiconist Gesenius, he would account for identifying it with Germany, but notice where it came from. Here, it went across the Black Sea or through the passage here, and it spread all the way out to the Mediterranean. Okay, now we're going to put up another map, which we looked at last week, and perhaps a week before. We want to look at it again, and we will very clearly see that Gomer, as descendants, spread all over East and Western Europe, including all the way out here into Spain and Portugal. All right? And then 6 has no migration basically involved here. The tribe Togarmah has remained in this area to this day and would be indeed modern-day Turkey. Okay? So that brings us to the same conclusion. Here's little Israel. Here is where all these tribes are today. Entire continent of Africa. Would you say Israel, based on the movement, the migrations of these tribes, leaves Israel totally surrounded? Certainly in terms of the Eastern Hemisphere. The Western Hemisphere, the U.S., North America, South America, that falls in the general category or term used in the Bible, coastal nations. Coastal nations. That is a way of answering the question, is America in the prophecy or in the scriptures? No, it is not, other than this very general catch-all term, coastal nations. Okay? In the Bible, coastal nations meant all your peripheral nations, way out there, way removed from the center of the earth, namely Jerusalem. Okay? Now, this thing is giving me... What will happen, of course, is that even in the Western Hemisphere, South America, North America, they will go along with this general anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic attitude and be caught up in this global attack against Israel and her ultimate, their ultimate attempt being used of Satan to destroy not only Israel, but every single living Jew on the planet Earth. All right? So that, all right, it's a terrible map in terms of complexity. So many terms and everything. But let's just get our bearings. First of all, here's the Mediterranean. But what is it called? Sea of Tarshish, all right? Look at that. Tarshish, okay? Today we would say it's right at the Rock of Gibraltar, okay? That's significant. We'll show you a little bit more and we'll put it together. You see down here, Dedan, we're going to read that in today's chapter 39, Dedan. Look at this. Okay? Sometimes they call that choke points, okay? Then over here is Seba, and it is up in the headwaters of the Nile River, which drains into the delta into the Sea of Tarshish. Of course, Sea of Tarshish is the Mediterranean, and Europe considers the Mediterranean their southern lake. They historically look at the Mediterranean as their lake. And of course, the agony of Russia is that it has never had a southern outlet on its own boundaries. In order to get into the Mediterranean, it has to come through the Bosphorus. Okay, the Dardanelles right here, and it pays fees to go in and out. Otherwise, its navy is landlocked during the long, many months of winter. The saltwater ports, Vladivostok up in the northeast of Russia and so forth, Siberia, it's frozen. So she needs to have a southern outlet. The only way she gets here is through this area here, and that is constantly monitored. Every ship that goes in and out is monitored for military intelligence and so on. But she now is in relationship with Syria, and Syria has a seaport here, and Russia is wintering there, and one providing armament to Syria, and she's also challenging our naval presence, which is indeed trying to protect the western coast of Israel. Okay, so we have Dinah, we have Seba, which by being on the headwaters of the Nile, which is the heart of the trade flow of trade goods throughout the entire length of Egypt, and also proximity to the Arabian Sea here. That makes her a major trading entity. There, of course, is another choke point right here, and this would be what?
The Strait of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz, and all of the major oil route goes right through this area here. And of course, that is now being watched very carefully, because Iran is saying we will choke off all free commercial mercantile trade through here if we attack her nuclear facilities, all right? But getting back to the tribes, here we see Tubal and Meshach. Here we see the descendants of Magog, okay? And then we come over to this area in here, and we should have, here's Gomer, Ashkenaz, here was where Tubal was. Here's Togarmah, Magog, Meshach. So we know how they migrated all up into here. Look at this, descendants of Gomer. Okay. So the descendants of Gomer are in proximity to the migrations or descendants of Tubal and Meshach and Magog. We come over here, what do we see? Descendants of Gomer. Come over here, colonized by descendants of Gomer, all the way through here, okay? All right, so now, do you get the picture here? This is an ancient map, and it very clearly is tracked the migrations, the origin and migrations of these tribes, and it's very clear to say that these tribes, modern day wise, completely surround this little tiny nation of Israel, okay? Including this massive continent of Africa, okay? Now, we know that there will be a 200 million man army that comes from the far east. That would be what Hal Lindsey calls in the late great planet Earth, the Yellow Peril. And that'll be the Indian, Japanese, and Chinese players, and that will be made up of the kings of the East. Now you want to remember that. That's of the north, south, east, and west. Only the East is referred to having kings of the East. So that means China will be China. I think Japan will be Japan. There may be even some interplay with the Afghanistan or Pakistani part of the world, they may be also part of the kings of the East. Otherwise, you have the king of the north, singular, king of the south, singular. King of the south, I think we should watch for the emergence of some kind of a leader who will headquarter in Africa. It may be Egypt, maybe this guy Morsi. We just have to watch. But somebody would emerge who would, I think, be then he may be even classified as the Inman or recognized as the Inman, the head of the what? Islamic
Islamic caliphate.
Caliphate. He'd be the leader of the Islamic world. Okay? And then, of course, who's the king of the West? That's the revived Roman Empire. Okay? And so that'd be, we're talking about all of Europe. Okay? All of this area here. And the center point of the compass would be right here. So east, north, south, west. Okay? The Western Hemisphere, South America and North America, again, generally all we can say about them is that they're coastal nations.